Hey Cameron, it's Ben. Thanks for coming to camp. Just doing some video e-now of work from your swings from camp and just wanted to review them with you on tape so you can start working on some stuff. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's go back to our start and watching your videos for a little while. Let's go back into our start. Starts I really like. I think your starts are in really good shape. I do like the distance of where your feet are in relation to your knees. I would like to have a little bit more bend in our knees. Your back's nice and straight with your posture. Your eyes are on the ball. Your hands are in a really good spot up by your ears, and your bat's in a good launch position. So everything besides probably getting a little bit more athletic. I think everything you like to start up and kind of finish down, which is fine. So let's go ahead and go to the next phrase here. When we do video analysis work, we always start with our stance first, and then we go into kind of our launch and land position. So let's go ahead and take a peek here at our land foot. One thing I do notice right away is we don't really take a step. You can notice if I draw a foot around this right here, that basically, which is fine, you're going to basically have your start, and you basically put up your foot and put it back down. The only problem with that is we begin to drift forward here. So with our step, we go into our step when we drift. I'm going to draw a line next to your front hip right here. And we don't want to drift forward. You're going to see I'm going to go through that line here and go forward. When I make contact, you can see I'm up towards my front foot, which I'm going to take away power. So what I wanted you to do is I really want you to focus on that front foot kind of stepping out a little bit. So instead of putting it back up and put it back down, try to do a step where you can just kind of get out there and step to your foot maybe so it goes to about here, and you can just take a little bit of a step. What that's going to do is going to keep the weight back inside of our feet and keep our weight back and get us stronger at contact and give us more power. You can see right now when I stop this is that both toes are kind of turned out a little bit. And we never want our feet to turn out because that's going to make our knees kind of go straight up and down and lose a lot of our power. If anything, you want your back foot from being in this position, you want it to be kind of turned in a little bit more in this case. And at the same time, in this position, when you do land foot, you don't want to have your foot facing the dugout over here. You want your backside foot to be more facing third base over here, or that heel compared to right now. Your toes facing more the first base, and I would want your toe to be more facing the dugout, and that's going to make this back foot or the back part of your foot be angled more that way towards the fence. So that's going to really we got to create a better lower half for you and make you stronger in the lower half compared to what you're doing. So that make a big difference on your power and how far you hit the ball and things. It's going to make a big deal. The other thing I see too is when you go to swing, you can see that you're going to be late sometimes because your body, your front shoulder, you can see this front shoulder really turned. It's really kind of turned in, where I want you to make sure that front shoulder stays kind of straight towards the pitcher. Right now, that shoulder is more facing towards the third base dugout or the first base dugout compared to having it more stay on the pitcher, where if you have some eyes or some binoculars on your shoulders, make sure that those binoculars can see the pitcher. And right now, they wouldn't. They would be looking at the dugout. So when you turn these shoulders, it's going to make us late because we got to come all the way back to normal, and right now they're turned. So if you got to come back to normal, then it's going to make us late to the ball. And I think actually on this first one we're a little bit late. You can see that we didn't get it right on the barrel. We got a little bit late to it. So that lower half of when you stride with no stride and you're more using your upper body, and that little bit of turning your shoulders on the top is going to highly affect on you being late sometimes on faster pitching and taking away power when you're not using your backside. So for example, for this, at contact right here, you can see that your back leg's a little bit straight and your front leg's a little bit straight. So if both legs are kind of straight, that means all of my power comes up from my arms. I want to have a nice bend in this angle of your foot right here and really be on that the ball of the foot. I think it's really important for you to really stay back. You can see, which is in pretty good shape, but you can see if I draw a straight line, it goes through the middle part of my body. What you want to do is you want to have a better angle in my leg, and you want the head to be going straight up on my back leg. But you can see right now that your head is more forward, and that's going to make a big difference. So what I would do is I would focus on a lot of tee work with you and making sure that you just have a tee, and then you finish at contact to make sure that you're not too much on your toe. I think you're too much on your toe right here. You need to have that back foot be down a little bit lower, kind of more in this area. But the key is you need a lot more arc on this leg right here. You need to have this kind of arc like this, but your head needs to be with your back leg and not your front leg. So that's key, is to get this head to go back a little bit at contact. That's going to create a lot more power. And instead of you guys being in kind of your arms right here, right, where you're not really fully extended, if this head goes back a little bit, it's actually going to get you where you're just going to be fully extension with our arms and have a lot more power. So this is going to make a big deal for you. I would do a lot of tee work to make sure at contact what you're supposed to look like with your head should be all the way back here, about a foot or two back, and making sure that you put that tee out there and you don't go forward to get it with your head. You just kind of stay back. Remember, the biggest thing you got to remember from this video is once the front foot lands, you can't go forward anymore with your head or anymore with your waist. So your front foot is landed, so I'm going to put a little line on your hip, your shoulders, and your head. And from here forward, you should just rotate. But as you can see, you go right through that, and what that does is that transfers everything into my upper body. At this point, I should be back here, and I should just be stationary with that, just rotating on that, and that's going to make a big difference in regards to our swing of staying back, and you're not going to get jammed as much. So let's go ahead and look at another swing here. You can see how kind of we don't have a lot of lower half because we fall over a little bit on our swing at the end. We're a little bit of tall when we start here. You can see when we step that both of my toes are out a little bit. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to swing more arms. The other thing I see too is when I go to swing, it makes us late sometimes, is that lower arm. You can see how that shoulder is beginning to turn. So watch your shoulders right here. You start straight, but then as you go step in, your shoulders rotate, which is going to make us long to the ball, and that's called casting because that lower arm is already locked out. So see this lower arm, watch this lower arm right here. That's called casting. That shouldn't look like that until contact. You want to have that look like, so you can see how it's completely straight right here as far as that arm, and that's going to make us long to the ball. So at this point of our swing, you should still have this nice, you can see where you start, this bottom arm has a nice angle to it. You have this angle here and an angle there. You want to keep that angle as long as possible, and you don't want to have that be stiff until contact, but you can see right now it's totally stiff, and that's going to make us long to the ball. You want to, instead of being fully extension here, you want to be fully extension with your arms out in contact here, right? Your arms, instead of looking like this, you want your arms to be more looking like that. Your hands should actually be out in this area right now compared to being way back in this area. And that's going to make a big difference. So I would get on a tee, I would focus on and watch this video a bunch of times. This is going to make a huge difference for you once you do these drills and once you get them figured out. So lots of tee work, but you got to take it step by step of what your hands look like. I would get the contact and freeze. I would finish at the end of your swing and freeze. You can see at the end of our swing, if I draw a straight line, it's going to go in the middle part of my body. And right now, it needs to come a straight line out of your knee, and then your head needs to be all the way back in this area. You need to have good angle in our feet. You need to be back. Your head needs to be back in this area compared to your head being forward. Once that land foot hits, you can't go forward anymore with that weight. So working these things, we really appreciate coming to camp, and this is going to do wonders for you once you work on it. It is going to take some time, so be patient, keep working at it, and we look forward to seeing you next at camp.